Welcome to Healthy Mind, Better Future, a podcast dedicated to mental wellness. We are all challenged by psychosocial struggles. Families are broken, jobs are unfulfilling, neighborhoods are unsafe. Poverty and illnesses deter us from quality of life. We're stressed, anxious, and in despair. Healthy Mind, Better Future brings awareness and relief to those with mental health challenges. It offers practical tips for managing stress and anxiety so you can positively function in society. Our podcast panelists are Dr. Adeyemi Fatoki, a board-certified family medicine and addiction specialist, Dr. Olaleye, a board-certified pediatrician and primary care physician, Dr. Kenneth Soyemi, a board-certified pediatrician and general preventive medicine physician. I'm Funmi Onayemi, your host. Our society deals with childhood indiscipline. Many of us see children on the streets and we ask, how come this child is so rude and just so undisciplined? So today we're going to deal with the whole idea of why is it that some parents leave their children to just roam around the world or roam around society without any concept of what's wrong and what's right. So today with me are Dr. Adeyemi Fatoki, Dr. Kenneth Soyemi, Dr. Olaleye, and of course our contributors, Mrs. Dorcas Fatoki and Mr. Funmi Onayemi. So everybody, good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you again for joining us. And so we're going to talk today about why is it that some parents just leave their kids to roam around society without really putting them in check. And therefore they become more like, how do you say this? Just they lack contributions to society. And they actually take away from what society tends to give them because they are simply not disciplined enough to take in what society has. So, Dr. Olaleye.
Some parents just don't have any idea how to discipline a child. They've just lost control. They lost it very early in life. And even since the time the child is a toddler and start throwing a tantrum, they constantly reward the positive behavior of throwing tantrums anytime you don't. They constantly reward the negative behavior of tantrum when you don't get your way. And so the child learns that, okay, so I know what to do when I don't get my way. And we raise our children in certain ways to let them feel like they rule the world. It's wherever they want. They have the last authority.
I think it's multifactorial. Some parents don't know how to parent. Some parents are too busy working and end up neglecting their children. And so those children that you think are not disciplined, I mean, they have some kind of discipline. It's because of who raised them. So when you have children who are raised on the streets, with negative ideas, they are going to turn out that way. If they are raised by criminals, they are going to start behaving like those criminals. If they're raised by the streets, they will act like the streets. And that's just the bottom line. So again, in their view, they are contributing to society because of who their role models are. For us as a large law-abiding society, we see something wrong with that. But a lot of times it's that if you're not raising your kids at home, the streets are going to raise them for you.
What does childhood indiscipline, what does that really mean? And I would say it actually refers to the behaviors in children that violates what we as a society says these are the expected rules, expectations, and the norms set by our parents. So I would say it looks like disrespectful behavior, defiance of rules, aggressive behavior, lying or deceptive actions, neglecting responsibility. So why is the kid doing all these things? There must be something that's deep rooted in the family relationships. Sometimes we're good parents, we mean well, but our kids will just not listen to us. What can we do in those kind of circumstances? I think that's a question to the big group. we are good parents. We know we are good parents, but the kid will just not do what we tell them to do, despite the fact that we raise them right.
It depends on the way the child was raised, and also the parents. Don't forget, and Dr. Shemi mentioned this, you can only give what you have. I cannot teach you German or French because I don't speak French. Some parents just don't have it. Okay, and I think the doctors can correct me if I'm wrong. There's something called cold mother syndrome. They just don't have it. And because they don't have it, the neglect manifests itself. Okay, and that is different from the parents that's already given up on a child. They're two different things. And that is called depleted parents and mother syndrome. One just don't know how to give it. The other one has given up. So that both of them leads to the same result.
As a parent, you have to have a lot of patience, love, consideration, and a whole lot more patience, because when the children does not act the way that you want them to act, or just simply they're not acting like they're supposed to, you really do have to have patience, because you'll draw those lines, or you'll cross those lines and be angry, and you just have to understand where the child is coming from. And that's really the bottom line. Just communicate and have patience.
I have a scenario that I thought was kind of funny. I worked with a lady at work who said, I got a call and it was for me to respond to something about my children. And so I quickly grabbed the call and I ran out of my office just so I could take care of this. And so the next day she said to me, Funmi, why do you always do that? Why do you always jump when the school calls you about your child? And I looked at her and she said, you know what? I don't care like that. She said, you know what I do? I sleep. And so my kids, one day my school called to say, oh, you know, your son just walked on the snow to get to school and now he's all wet and whatever. I said, okay, so why are you calling me? That was a response to the school. And because she said, hey, I don't have time, they'll get to know all of these things. What do you do about that, everybody? What do you do about such neglect that will now make a child not even know what to do? Just like Ms. Onayemi and Dr. Soyemi had said, that there are situations in which some parents simply don't know what to do. They don't have it.
Again, it comes to communication and being patient and knowing what your child needs. We should strive as parents, especially for our very young children, to feel comfortable to call us. Not even when for them not to think that, oh, my daddy is going to yell at me or is going to curse me out for saying this, or I'm going to get a whipping for saying this. But many times the child is trying to learn, they're trying to know what to do. I think for one, I wouldn't send my child to walk through the snow to the school. And if my child does that, like if I'm running late or something, my child tries to come up with a solution and decides to walk to school, rather than blame them for doing that, I'm actually going to commend them for being, for making a decision to get to school. But at the same time, let them know that I don't want you doing this because it's dangerous. So when I get called by the school that the child is wet, I'll be glad to take some clothing, for the child to change into. But for me, it comes to encouraging your children to be innovative and also to be comfortable talking to you. And when they make decisions that are not quite good, to let them know why you don't think those were the right decisions they made.
So in a situation in which, like Dr. Olaleye mentioned, that everything begins in childhood, we have been told that no one has a written, manual for children. Should we have some standards, though, that we say to ourselves as parents, we must teach our children 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then stay with them on that note?
Yes. I do believe that since these kids come and they don't have any instructions attached to them, but there are still some basics that we know right from the beginning. you set boundaries. A lot of kids that have no discipline have never had any boundaries. You are consistent when you tell them this is acceptable, this is not acceptable. Be consistent about the rules that you're laying down for them. If today I am yelling at my sister, it is acceptable. Tomorrow I'm yelling at my sister, it's not acceptable. You're confusing the child. He or she doesn't know which rule am I supposed, is it okay or is it not okay? I don't know. Don't give them double meaning. Don't be lukewarm. You're either hot or cold. Be consistent. Make the rules to be clear. And don't keep repeating yourself, because you keep repeating yourself, they start tuning you out. So you tell them, acceptable, you turn around, you walk away. That's it. You have a toddler that is throwing an unnecessary boundaries. He comes in front of you and fall down and start screaming just because you said you can bite on the batteries. You walk over him and keep going. He might get up and come after you. One of my kids used to do that. He will come up and come in front of you and fall down like, did you not see me that I just fell out in front of you? They'll come and run in front and fall out again. You keep going. I didn't see you. You know what? When they see that you're ignoring that behavior, they stop throwing foolish tantrums. But then next time he touch something that he's not supposed to touch, you take it away from him. He doesn't throw a tantrum, you stop, acknowledge it. Oh, I'm so proud of you. So children ultimately want your attention. Reward positive behavior with your attention. Ignore negative behaviors. And then when you started doing that when they're young, they start learning. When my mom or my dad says no, they mean no. How many kids do I get? At school, they're perfect angel. At home, they're tyrants. That's because the teacher at school says, this is what we're doing. And she keeps on going, and kids know this is what is expected at school. There are boundaries, clear expectations. They get home, mom is wishy-washy. And a lot of time, kids will ignore the mom's voice. That's because we keep yelling and we keep repeating ourselves. But then the dad comes once and say, Johnny, stop it. And Johnny stop, because dad doesn't have time for nonsense. So we have to be consistent. We have to set clear boundaries. We have to start early. Don't wait. If you don't start early, I keep telling my parents this. If you don't start early, if a 4-year-old is running your life right now, you've lost control. When he's 14, he's not going to listen to you. He's not, but if you've set boundaries, clear boundaries right from the beginning, then you're building on a solid foundation. So when he's 15, 16, he still better behave. And I see it all the time. Excellent parenting in my office. And those that I know, that is a matter of time, they're coming back to ask for ADHD medicine. And not because this child have ADHD, but this kid had lack control because nobody has boundaries. I tell some of them when they're acting the fool, like, no. And the kid looks at me like, what foreign language is that? And the parents are aghast, like, you said, no, that's not a word we use in my house. Yeah, then that's just it. You have to learn to say no. You have to learn to be firm. You have to learn how to be consistent and set clear boundaries.
The problem with the boundaries, which is everything is just wonderful, and I love everything you've said. When you talk about foundation, though, there comes a time, and that is usually around teenage years, when they just rock that foundation to the core, and most parents lose control. Dr. Soyemi, what do you say to that?
It's complex. It's complicated. Sometimes we look at things as straightforward. Oh, why isn't this kid listening? I set boundaries. I did all the stuff. The kid is just not listening. Mr. Onayemi said something very important, that we are in competition with the peers in the street. We're also in competition with social media. That has really, really changed, especially TikTok, Instagram has just totally changed things. Or it knocks out everything we know about child discipline, because we may say this is the rules in my household. And kid will just, as soon as he steps out the door and is with his friends, everything you've told him just went in one ear left the other ear. So discipline is a little bit, it's, in my own opinion, is a little bit more complicated than what the rest of the panelists have said. So we just have to keep working with the kids, spending quality time with the kids. One thing I especially that I keep telling my kids, you're Nigerians first. Yeah, we do things a little bit different. You may think we're being harsh and difficult with you. We're doing it for a reason. 10, 20 years down the road, you come in and say, thank you, Dad. Some kids actually will turn around and blame their parents, say, why didn't you discipline me when you were supposed to discipline me? So in my opinion, it's not a straightforward solution. It's a little bit complicated, which we have to take stage by stage by stage, early childhood, adolescence, especially between the ages of 13 and 18. That's when you really, really, really need to be present as a parent for your child.
Dr. Fatoki, you've described many times about how you were disciplined. Can you share that with us and then let us know how that affected your parenting and the outcome of all of that?
My parents use something called guided freedom, which is that they will guide you and talk to you, but at the same time, they allow you to make your own mistakes. Some children will learn by talking to them. Some will learn from seeing other people's examples, and some will learn until it happens to them. But the other thing too, like I had a lot of classmates when I was in school, and some of the teachers that they will whip the living daylight out of you. I put in the chat as a joke that, when Dr. Olaleye was talking about ignoring negative behavior, during my time, that behavior was not ignored a lot of times. I mean, no, we had things like Hattori, Pankere, blah, blah, that.
What are those?
Those are different forms of military discipline, or whatever you call it. And I also realized that some of those kids actually turned out worse. Like the more some of them got whipped, the more hardened they got. So I know it's not politically correct about whipping and things like that, but or corporal punishment. But I'll still throw that out there. Like, I mean, when do you use corporal punishment and how far do you go with that kind of stuff? I wasn't disciplined like that to that extent, but I remember even when we went to church, I hated going to church because at the children's service, if we acted like children, we got whipped. If our parents gave us like 20 kobo to put in the church and that mountain cover that I used to go buy peanuts to snack on, I got whipped for that because they are saying, no, it's the money for Jesus that I'm spending. But they already gave me the money for the church. That was my money that I spent on food. Why are you whipping me in church for that? And that just made me not like going to church.
I personally will not advocate for that here in the United States because you'll end up in a place you don't want to be in.
To be honest with you, I still believe firmly, if you start early and you start young, you wouldn't need to resort to that. And as the child grows, what you used to, it's different. When maybe a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, I am not objected to a little spank on their booty with your hand. You use your hand so you don't go far on your booty and say stop. But and you reserve that for when it's absolutely dangerous. Like I want to put matter in the electric socket, and I've already told you that once. So you might never have to do that more than once or twice, and the toddler will learn. Children, honestly, they're moldable. Yes, we're competing with a lot of peer pressure, but if you've already worked on it gradually when they're young, a child that was raised with consistent boundaries and instructions and clear instructions and expectations at home within the loving family and a loving parent, we make a different decision when they're under peer pressure at 16. That doesn't mean they don't make mistakes. Don't get me wrong. Their friends might be drinking and they decide to drink and they're only 16. They will make some mistakes, but it's just different. Things are easier when you are working on it gradually. You cannot just let them roam around like I don't know, until they're just 16 and then decide I wanted to discipline them. And you vary your discipline by age. A 16-year-old that I said, you need to mow the lawn, and he does not do it. And now he wants the car key because he wants to go hang out with his friend. Sorry, you're not driving my car. I've already told you mow that lawn and you didn't, he didn't do it. That's fine. I won't say it again. I might even mow the lawn myself. But please don't come back. Don't come to me later and say, you want my, no, I'm not giving it to you. It's my car. You don't want to listen to me, and neither do I want to listen to you. So next time I tell him to mow the lawn, he might know, because for every action that you do, there are consequences, and you will know the consequences of your actions. And now you make decision. I like what Dr. Fatoki says, guided freedom. You have two choices. Clean your room. You don't clean your room, I have your brother clean it for you, and I pay him $2 for doing it. Out of your allowance, that $2 comes out. You will think twice next time before you make. So you do appropriate. You met out appropriate discipline or consequences for each, something that will matter. Peter, I will tell, he loves going out to play with his friends in the summer. Oh my goodness, that boy is a social whatever. I tell him to do something, he doesn't do it. I don't bother myself. I'm not going to keep repeating myself. I've told you. Then his friend will come. Can Peter come out and play? I say, oh no, he's not playing. He's been grounded for a whole day. Oh my goodness, that hurt him so much when he can't play with his friend. Next time I say similar things, guess what? Before I finish saying it, it gets done. You use whatever is appropriate for age. And if you keep doing it, will 100% results? Will you get 100% result? No, but you're more likely to get 99% positive or expected result. After all, Adam and Eve reigned Cain and Abel. So you can be the best parents and still not get 100% what you want, but you're more likely to get it if you use appropriate discipline based on age.
You know what? I want us to all say what works for us, or what worked for us, maybe as you were raised or as you raised your children. So let's go. Dr. Fatoki, what worked for you while you were being raised and when you raised your children?
The guided freedom principle helped me. And I mean, that's my parents' playbook, which is we work with you, but you make those choices and you're going to deal with the consequences of whatever choices you make.
What worked for me growing up was the unwavering love from my mother. And while raising my kids is the support that I receive from my wife, and sometimes it's tough. My advice here is that don't work too hard to get friendship from your children. People go out of their way so their children can be their friends. It doesn't work.
Well, what worked for me was just looking at all the other children around me be disciplined. I didn't like to be disciplined, so that was enough for me. And while I was raising children, I just listened a lot. I was there a lot. I was the ear. So when they needed to complain and things like that, I was always able to get them to do what I needed them to do. And they came to me with whatever they had, so it worked.
I will say the same for me. I don't want anybody to yell at me. And so what worked for me was looking at what happened to those in front of me and knowing I didn't want the same. And I felt strongly that the love, my father's love for me and my grandmother's and my mother, just made me feel so comfortable. And knowing that whatever they told me was what I could follow. And so I was a very good child, if I may say so myself.
I was a chicken as a child. So if I know this is going to cause trouble, no way, you won't see me anywhere close to it. I avoid trouble as much as possible. And I have my sister, she gets all the trouble. So I see it, I stay clear of all those kind of things. And I don't like you raising your voice on me. Oh my goodness. So it makes me avoid getting into trouble. And raising my children, I don't know. I guess I I don't know. Maybe I have to say that I probably cheated because I was already a pediatrician before I started having my children. So I incorporate a lot of things that I know, and I avoid things that I know I dislike growing up when I see that was done for kids. And I am thankful, but I am not shy of telling kids to have consequences. If I won't keep waking you up for school, if you don't get up when I tell you once it's time, you don't get up, then by all means, you miss your bus, put on your boots and start walking. It doesn't bother me one little bit.
Well, at this point, we just want to give tips on how to turn a child who has no discipline around for a better society.
You don't want to try to discipline your children when you're angry, and again, I will say if you're having a problem, then you should ask for help, seek some professional help.
Talk to the kid, honestly, set the boundaries early, just like Dr. Olaleye said. One very, very important thing is if it's a two-parent household, make sure both parents are on a united front. The decision, so that the kid will not turn around and say, "Oh, but mom said I could do it." No, 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 no. If you're gonna talk, if a kid is gonna ask for something, they're gonna ask for the same thing or something for other parents at the same time, so that, or say go or the response is, "What did your dad say?" Or let me confirm with your dad before you make a decision, especially when you're raising children, because they will play each parent against each other to get what they want. So it's very, very important that the parents have a united front.
I said a lot of love, and you have to have some kind of discipline. I feel like children need discipline. If you're not disciplining your child, it's almost as if you do not love them. And we see that a lot in schools. My sister is a teacher, and I have friends that are teachers, and the children that are in the schools, they are not disciplined. But when they bring in discipline to the classroom, it's amazing how the classroom turn around. So they just need discipline and love.
Most of the times, there's a root cause. And if you can get to the bottom of that problem, the experts mentioned that sometimes you may have to seek professional opinion or help. But most of the time, there's a problem. You just need to get to the bottom of that problem.
Thank you so much, everyone, for today. We've talked about disciplining our children, and we've talked about how good that is for society, not only for society, but also for the children. Because when we have children with healthy minds, we virtually guarantee the fact that they will have better future. So we thank you for today, and we hope to see you next week. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Healthy Mind, Better Future. Pressures of life can get you down. Don't lose hope. Exercise your mind daily so you can function positively in society for a better future. Continue to join us as we offer tips to navigate your challenges and bring you mental wellness. Your healthy mind is key to your better future. Please subscribe and share our podcast. Someone out there needs encouragement.